Hello again. Hope everybody's doing well. In this talk, we're going to look at Chapter 6 of Inspired Logical Strategy That Works, and specifically look at action steps. This is the chapter that moves from a lot of theoretical concepts, which of course a major part of strategy is on thinking things through, coming up with good ideas, good solutions, and turning them to tangible actions. It's action's wonderful. You know, when you want to see a movie, often you say, let's do an action flick, because people like action. They like to do things. They like to see things happen. And I think that's highly valid. You want to see it work. There's nothing worse than having an idea that sits on the shelf and is never implemented, especially a good idea. We've all done that. We've all been there. We've all come up with great ideas that we didn't implement. It's hard to get out of your head. Otherwise, sometimes we come up with ideas and other people implemented them, and you think, man, you know, I really should have done that. And sometimes you even tell friends about your ideas and they do it and you don't. So the key is to really be focused on that. When you do a strategy, and you'll see this in many of the readings that we've covered, the element of action is fundamental. You'll have the concepts of the competition, the market, market space, your customer, etc. But there's always the idea and strategy that you have to take action, you have to do something. And this is where many areas fail in your own life, but also in company, corporate life, where they just don't get anything done. Now remember, part of this is this. When you're in a company, when you're in any organization, especially a big one, you are often up against just a massive construct of bureaucracy and inertia, conformity, people pushing it apparently for mediocrity, and then the idea that, well, someone else will do it. You will hear this all the time. Oh, I'm not. Someone's going to take care of that. Someone else will do it. Usually, often there's no one else. It's you. You don't want to be. The bureaucracy can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's institutionalized, but you need to break through it. And inertia, basically, the idea of we've always done it this way. Sit there, work out your time. You'll be fine. Conformity is extremely powerful. People like to do what everybody else is doing. So many people think, I'm so original because I'm doing this. Yeah, you're doing what everyone else is doing. That's not original. And I think that's part of this is, as a strategist, you have to take that step back. You have to look around. You have to see things a little bit differently and train your mind to say, I don't have to do what everybody else is doing. I have to think the way everybody else is thinking. I need to come up with new ideas and new concepts and use this, because otherwise I'll never break through the bureaucracy, the inertia, the conformity, and this idea, let's all be kind of mediocre, which is nowhere. Okay, action steps. How do we do them? Now, again, going back to the principles of strategy, action steps need to have certain characteristics, and they're here on this slide. You need a focused action. You need to really reduce your complexity and ambiguity. It doesn't help people when you say, do this, and it's too broad or too wide or unspecified for them to actually do. You need to know exactly, and some people have different levels of how much detail they need, but you need to know enough to do what is necessary. It doesn't help people just to say go off on your own and just do it without having a clear idea of what needs to be done. You want to focus on your key business drivers. You need to understand the drivers and then allocate the leverage or the resources or the power to those to energize them. Make sure the things you want to happen are sufficiently resourced to happen. And focus on the high gain activities. A business law is that 20% of anything gets 80% done. It's always the case. So you really want to find out what those 20% things are and resource them accordingly. You'll see all the time companies that will throw money and people behind an element of the business that really doesn't generate that much, and you just wonder, why are they doing that? They may be under resourcing a place or a part of the business that's really productive. It's very common, and again, as a strategist, you'll come in and you'll see things, since you're looking from the outside and you're looking with a bigger view. You'll immediately see, why are you spending money here that produces so little return instead of there? There may be valid reasons, the interdependencies, but often it's just been the way it is, so you need to change that. You want to focus on things you can do now. Action steps. Many times you'll go to conferences or strategy meetings and you'll come out with a bunch of things and you can't do them. And if you don't start on those things within 48 hours, studies have shown they almost never get done. and the reason they don't get started on it is because you can't do them. You don't have you're waiting for something. You don't have the people in place. You don't have the available resources. When you talk about action, think about what can I do? What can we do? What can this team do with what we have, who we have, and do it now? And that's absolutely fundamental to making good choices on the actions you want to implement. Incremental steps, variations, near-term implementations. Look for quick results. Look for things you can do. Get that low-hanging fruit. Show success early. Grab something off the table that's been sitting there. Do the quick things that can make a difference, and that'll give your whole team momentum for the bigger things as well. Always be clear and coherent. And again, I think part of what you do when you come up with action steps is building some shock absorbers. Sometimes you can predict, other times you can't predict, but things will go wrong sometimes. So if you know what, like for example in Miami and Florida, we're going to have hurricanes in the summer. If you say we're going to be in this office every single day, it probably won't happen. You need to have a contingency workspace. You need to have contingency plans. How can people work from home? How can people adjust? That will happen. If you have a big workforce, some people are going to get sick, some people are going to be on vacation, some people are going to leave. These things have to be, that's going to happen, so you have to factor them in. You also have to think about what I can't imagine, because those unimaginable things will happen also. You always have to be thinking, how will I adjust if things don't go exactly how I've been thinking? Okay, so how do you do the action steps? Now, this builds on the last talk in the last chapter on bulletproofing and logical testing your ideas. Once your ideas have made it through logical testing, you stick them right there on the specific areas of strategic change. You discard the ones that didn't make it, you put the ones that made it through there. These are tested ideas. They've gone through the how, why, how do you know, who, when, etc. process. So these are good to go. These are ideas that people, that they can be supported, they can be provable, and then they will work. Okay, so then you have a much reduced way of looking at them. You have the idea, okay, then you put greater detail on how it's going to be worked out. You put a clear person in charge. It could be you, for example. Often when you're the one that comes up with ideas, you're the one that gets the opportunity to flesh it out, which is exciting. And then the when. You have to set dates. Always been timetables. Deadlines are never to be missed. I know in college you get used to their sliding. In business, you cannot miss them. You cannot miss deadlines. You can't be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. You can't, except under extremely extenuating circumstances, you have to meet deadlines, or usually money is lost, deals are not done, people get impacted. So deadlines are there. So when you set a deadline, and also, if you can't make a deadline, then you have to have good reasons why they cannot be met, which often happens. But you have to have a deadline there. And then done, yes or no. This is again, you can see the progression. You come up with ideas, you test them. The tested ideas, the ones that work, go into your action steps. Then you find out, then you do it specifically how they're going to be done, who, when, and then that person and that time frame, using that methodology, is in charge of getting that thing done. Thanks a lot.